The food service, hospitality, and retail industries are evolving in ways you've never heard of until now. Hosted by global industry technovator Rob Grimes and powered by the IFBTA, TechBytes is your go-to podcast, putting technology innovation and trends on the menu.
Well, welcome back to another episode of TechBytes and the IFBTA behind it, of course. And today, we're going to have a different kind of conversation for two reasons, maybe three reasons that are out there. But I'm with Kevin Seo, and he is the managing partner. He's the managing partner for Operations Advisors, LLC. And however, I don't actually think that tells the story. But Kevin, before I let you say a word on this, so we had this conversation before we got on board here about where his office is.
Yes.
And I'm learning that his office is on the road.
Yes.
So we are now in your office and we're going to have a conversation.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Right now, I'm on my way to see a client. And we do a lot of food tasting in the world that I do and all the different things that I touch. And so we're going to be meeting up another chef right now.
So what I've discovered is, and I have no claim to fame on this at all, but you're sort of like an influencer. You're out there in social media. You have your own podcast. You do a lot of different things, and you do have your hands and fingers into many, hopefully with gloves on when we're doing the food. But you are involved in a lot of different things. I think somehow you got some crypto back there, in your past, and you've got operations and things. So why don't you tell us, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of companies. I always like to explain myself just because there's so many things going on. I say there's a fun part of my life and there's a boring part of my life.
I get a feeling most of it is fun.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun. I would say the boring side of business is I'm in manufacturing, logistics, and production. That's the operation advisors part of the company, and the other company that a lot of folks in the industry know me for is Secret Sauce Society, which is a tech. Oh, it's not tech, but it's actually we call it a food entertainment company. And that way we've been able to do a lot of different things, events, immersive events. And we just do food a little different. Yeah.
Are you able to talk about your secret sauce?
Yeah. I mean, we'll be talking about some of that today. You mentioned a little bit of crypto background. That is where I met the good folks over at the IFTBA and all the different amazing tech folks in food. I met everybody through that. We have the claim to fame, and there could be some arguments out there that we were the first restaurant that utilized blockchain technology into purchasing a hamburger. And so because of that, we did that with ApeCoin, Ethereum, and we went viral. We were in 83 articles within the first day of launch. We went global. Our locations today aren't in the US. They're in South Korea and the Philippines. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. So let's just discuss that, because I'll tell you, I went to a conference, Restaurant Finance, a year or two ago, and I was with Paul Barron, and we were talking about blockchain and crypto and things. And I got to tell you, in our industry, people really don't understand it. And from my standpoint, I know Landry's early on took a shot at that one, and they still actually will, and their loyalty to it. Do you want to explain, how that fits into, the food environment and what you were doing?
Yeah, at the time, this was back, I'm trying to think. Was it 2022? 2022. Bored and Hungry was the brand that we launched through that process, and that was where the technology fit. We were trying to create. We were very intentional. We wanted a food that the community could understand, which is hamburgers. The menu was super simple. It was a smash burger. It's literally onions, some secret sauce, and it's grilled onions, double patty, cheese. It's like the simplest burger you can think of. Soft butter.
And a side of blockchain on top.
Yes. And then the blockchain piece would be if you were a certain holder, which was BAYC, which is the Bored Ape Yacht Club. If you had these NFTs, you got free burgers during the grand opening. And we did some other perks and events throughout the existence of the brand. And then it evolved into something else today. But definitely in the beginning, we infused the technology into all the fun. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So when did you actually start, in the industry itself, right
Hmm.
in food? Was it always from the beginning, or was it sort of an evolution?
It was definitely evolution. The reason why there's a boring part of the company, meaning the operation advisors part, that was actually my original company. It totally not in the same industry. Logistics and manufacturing is not the same thing as food.
But the
Uh,
name will fit anywhere.
yeah, but what happened from there is I always had a love of food because of my friends that were these crazy entrepreneurs that opened restaurants. They were like, I'm going to do it. It's all passion, all community. And I always loved going and eating myself. I'm a big foodie, so I love trying new foods. And during that season, in 2020, a lot of my friends lost their businesses. And I remember during the pandemic, it was just crazy. Like they were closing doors. It was so difficult to like staying open was illegal. Like it was crazy.
Right.
I remember that time as such a weird pocket. And
And meanwhile, it's almost surreal. And like 10 years or 15 years from now, people are going to say that time never existed.
right. I mean, it's almost like you forget how crazy it was. And in that season, I picked up a phone and I said, I'm gonna create content for these small business owners just to let people know that they exist and they're open and come, come eat something. And so during that season, that's where the whole food and entertainment thing kind of like took off.
All
And-
right, so
Mhm.
let me make sure. Let me make sure. So you actually transformed into the industry somewhere around 2020,
Right
and
in
you were doing
2020.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were doing it because you wanted to help promote food service operators and your friends who were having a tough
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And so, a question I always ask people, especially in the tech space, is what was the inspiration behind what got them into tech?
Mm.
And you were able to take a skill set you had before
Yeah.
and use it as an inspiration to get in and get. So what was the success factor, or what was the return on that?
So when I started that journey, we went viral via the content because the content that I was making it became like a mini little TikTok influencer, whatever you want to call it. But
I saw that.
yeah, I just became a creator, and because I became a creator, it garnished a lot of attention, and I realized, man, the food industry. I think there's a lot of fun, different things we can do with it. And so that's where we started to develop and try different brands with partnering up with actually I had a speed run. The reason how I even got the leg up is one of the partners that joined me very early on was Andy Wynn. Andy Wynn had a background in already doing food in a weird way. And I was like, dude, I love what you're doing. I want to learn, how you did this with After's Ice Cream, Hello Kitty Cafe, and all these different brands.
Right.
And so that's how we became friends and we started working on projects together. Yeah.
Okay, so you did this, and by the way, did I hear somewhere in there that the original piece is closed in the US, but are you still operating in Korea? Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, we have two restaurants in South Korea and I believe, on the fourth location in the Philippines. Yeah.
Love the Philippines, and I've only changed planes in the airport in Korea. But I've been trying. I've been trying. So you can't see it, but I've been trying to get Samsung to make me one of their influencers so I can get the tri-screen phone when it comes out, and I need them to invite me to their cafeteria. Because I hear they have a great food service thing. But what I really want to do is I want to figure out the influencer thing, which you'll teach me, so I can convince them that they ought to just
Yeah, hey,
hand me the tech.
it's just practice, man. You just got to keep filming yourself doing things.
All right. So we got that, and you're doing advising. So what's the advising side of this? Because you did say that you're really literally living on the road, meeting with chefs and doing things. So how does that come in?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. One, when it comes to brands, so the Secret Sauce Society company, the way it's shifting is yes, we still have some projects left where we're going to be building concepts. There's still that part of it, but as far as the company goes, we've decided to shift more over to engage with brands and teaching them how to develop this community or activation or an event around food that really attracts communities. And so we're actually looking more towards brands that are not food and beverage related, brands that are just like like I'm just gonna throw out a name just because a big name, like a Toyota or something, like like a car company. What does food have to do with cars, and how do we marry that together and do something cool? And so
People eat in them and try not to drop their coffee when they go through the drive-through.
yeah, but like what if I talk to this is not a real thing. I'm not talking to them right now. But let's just say I were to approach Toyota, I would say, what if we created an amazing cars and coffee cafe pop-up all under the umbrella of Toyota along the beach? It'd be such a cool thing.
Well, why not? I mean, whoever thought that Capital One would have coffee
Right.
cafes inside their banks, right?
Yep.
So why not?
Yep.
But
Exactly.
but having just come back from RLC in Phoenix and taking a Waymo, which of course in LA they have, right? The
Yeah.
very concept of once I start getting maybe seats facing each other, let me have a table in the middle there and just give me food, that you drop off in the thing, and let's just drive and have a meal together, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that
Put it in a Toyota.
Yeah, because one of the things that we love, or I love about food, is really it really sets a table, lets people sit at it. It's like a love language, right? You could talk about everything: tech, business, life, family, and it just really gathers people together, and it's a disarming thing, which is a good thing. So it allows people to have a real conversation. So like
Well,
you know,
well, you're helping brands to amplify and get their message out, but in reality, you're almost creating. And by the way, you're doing it yourself. A new version of brands or showing people where they can go. Now, I get the feeling that some of the things you said, because you used in your introduction the word immersive, and that is sort of interesting too. Now, I think about pop ups. So you could create pop up brands. You did say something about the experience. But when somebody uses the word immersive to me, I'm now starting to think about the future and an ever changing environment around me that, or wherever I want it to be, that I may be serving, food or getting people together.
Yeah. I think one of the things that it's funny that we're uh timing, I always think timing is interesting, how I meet people, how I do these things. Even right before this podcast, I was just talking to an XR, VR, AR team about what it would look like to do something together, because for them they're all about the audio and visual, where I'm introducing a full new set of touch and taste. And so we want to talk about how can we do something together where it's literally like you're feeling it, you're eating it, you're seeing it, something crazy. And so
We should have a conversation about that.
yeah,
I'd love to
open.
be in that. I'd love to be in that conversation because I'll tell you, I do have some opinions on it. Um,
Okay.
when no, listen, when I so I go to CES every year. I look at this, and I have been waiting, just literally waiting for glasses to really come out the way they need to be, where I do not
Mm,
know I have them on, but I don't need goggles. By the way, the whole idea, if you Google immersive restaurants online, you're going to see these videos of people sitting there with the goggles on and eating a meal in front of them. That
yeah,
to me is not what it's about. I
yeah.
don't have a problem with glasses that you can actually use the visioning in it, like Google's working on that right now, more than just a camera. I don't need to know about the Ray-Bans, but get that cost down, give it to me
Mhm.
immersive in a regular glass that I can see 3D and stuff and touch and feel. However, deja vu moment here. We could take things that actually have come about, but they were before their time,
Mhm.
like on the table, like Little Chef, and
Yeah.
and some things like that, and we could say that's how do we put it together for that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Little Chef is such a great example of like how they did like a fully immersive like cuisine. You're eating, you're seeing. And it's so fun. And it's fun even watching it through camera because I've never been to that experience. So it's fun even witnessing, oh, that's super awesome. I'd love to try that one day. And so that I think that's a great place to kind of build from. And I think there's so many more events like that. It could be in a dining situation, it could be in a stadium situation. It could be all sorts of things. And these are the conversations that are starting to happen, which is really exciting. And what does it look like to have a block party with food, immersive events, pop-ups? Like there's things to do that's different from before. And this way you can involve different brands that never had a foothold in events like this. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, you've just thrown out a number of new things in here. So why don't we just no, seriously, why don't we just take a quick break? I wish I was sitting in that car next to you, right? But okay,
Well, you'd
can't
be
do that.
traveling to get some tacos in a minute, but
Okay, well, tacos could work. So, but not virtual tacos. But I've seen a taco making machine and robotics to do tacos. So that's something else entirely, right?
yep.
So let's just take a quick break because I'd like to explore a couple of things that you just said because I think, I'd like to understand what you're thinking about. So we'll just take a quick break. We'll be right back with Kevin Seo, and we're going to continue an immersive conversation from point to point here. So we'll be right back.
With the rapid expansion of technology in the food and beverage industries, finding the right supplier can become overwhelming and complicated. To simplify this process, the IFBTA created Exchange. Exchange is a powerful search tool where users can easily narrow down their technology search and refine results by application type, geography served, department, and more. Browse resources and learn more about the industry's technology suppliers at exchange.ifbta.org. Now, back to the show.
Well, welcome back. And you can see that Kevin and I have been maybe chatting it up during the break here. So we're not going to tell you what it's about, but we're going to continue the conversation, just sort of about some of the technologies, because I think that Kevin's perspective is sort of different from most, and he crosses a number of things. So, you started to, we were talking about immersive right before the break, and we were talking, you don't have to share the secret sauce, that you're working with some people on. But, when people start thinking about what the future is of the food service industry and the experience, of which that's the inspiration that got you in the first place, the experience, and you wanted to do it there. And you sit there and you say 10, 15 years out. Yeah. And now we've got autonomous vehicles, we've got true immersive technologies. In your head, where do you see, what does the future look like?
One of the things I'm fighting against is the disconnect of how we are going towards. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing about convenience. Convenience is fine, food delivery is fine, but there's something that I feel strongly against with the disconnect of a person to a person. And so what I mean by this is a lot of kids today, a lot of the Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they've grown up with so much technology that they're hanging out in technology all the time. However, they are yearning for connection, like real human connection. And what better way to draw people together than food? So what I'm trying to do is not to say, let's combat all the convenience, let's combat all the technology. Not at all. I'm trying to embrace it, include food in that conversation to create these events, immersive pop-ups, restaurants, whatever it takes to help these brands to attract the tech savvy, the convenience driven or experience driven folks that want to come and still using food at the center to create conversation, good taste, and shared culture. Yeah.
So you know what? As you were saying that, if I had a bubble above my head and you were watching what I was thinking while you were saying that, I had two thoughts. Thought number one was just, the experience, but I think everybody eats. That's the one thing that everybody does. I can't say that everybody sleeps in a hotel. I can't say everybody gets on a plane. I can't say that everybody, goes to a casino and goes gambling. I can say everybody eats. Yeah. So that's one thing we all have in common. We got to do it.
Yeah.
So then the question, what you're bringing up is the experience. But the other thought that went through my head is it possible for all of the lumps and all of the things that the restaurant hospitality industry has taken over the years of not being the best place to work, that we may actually be the savior to interpersonal skills because you cannot work. So here's the thesis for you. People start in our industry at a young age. Yeah. It depends on the labor laws, but 14, 16, whatever it is that they do, okay?
Yeah.
But there is no possible way we may be the trainers of the future, not the schools, of how does a person interact with each other.
That's right. I agree.
So maybe maybe it shouldn't just be about eating, but maybe we should be taking what you're thinking about there and using it as a recruiting to get people in the industry because somebody is going to have to teach. You don't have to have interpersonal skills to eat. You
Yeah.
can sit there and just text each other at a table and not talk, but you cannot work in our industry without communicating with your fellow workers nor the customers.
That's right. That's right. I think so. One of the competitive advantages of being in a company like ours, or like we talk about labor a lot because we work with so many different folks from the kitchen all the way to the project managers to the designers. Like, there's a wide range of folks that we're always working with, wide range of ages that we're working with, generations that we're working with, and I think one of the through lines is that we really, really care about community. And when it comes to community, it's about the people, and it's still all about hospitality. At the end of the day, when it comes to food, hospitality has to be a part of it. Technology, whatever, you could throw all these different terms, but it's still, the through line is hospitality. That's why it's Tech Bites, right? You're doing a play off of food. And so, like, at the end of the day, it still revolves around people, which is hospitality driven. And you're absolutely right. It gives us an opportunity as an organization, set culture, train, teach, and just really take on what a lot of people don't want to do because they always bash on the younger generation. But I think the younger generation is awesome. They're just different.
Hey, here's a factoid for you that nobody knows,
Yeah.
and I very few people would even know anything about it. But in 19 this will date myself on this, but in 1997 or 1998, maybe,
Okay.
I had a blueprint for something I called Bytes Cafe, BYTES,
Okay.
because I was in tech and because I was in food service. But clearly, people would not have put that together at the time. But yet today, TechBytes,
Oh,
as a
wow.
podcast and is used. But I thought, if you marry technology with food, that and you play off the word that's there. But let's talk about, you use the word community, and I'm very concerned about community. It is the empathy, it is the hospitality that makes our industry different, but I might use also the word culture. And so
Mm.
when you're working with smaller groups, not the big chains, but you're working with smaller groups, it's about their culture. So how do we keep that culture as somebody grows, and how can technology not take away the culture but actually enhance it?
I think one of the things that we start with is trying to develop a great sense of trust going into every relationship. That includes the literally from the cash register to the person designing the clothes to the general manager or whoever else is working. Trust is a really important factor of communication with people because it's a people business at the end of the day. And so we start with trust. Then we put our core principles of what does it look like to customer service? What does it look like to build trust with clients or customers? So trust is like a really big factor, and a lot of that has to be not just words but action. And so you really have to do what you say around this, at least around our team. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, people want to lead by example and they want to have that. But when you're working in a society where the first exposure or the first touch point is actually probably going to be virtual before they even come in, and then you have to maintain it, how do
Mm.
you gain their trust before they even come in? How do you keep it when they're there? And then how do you keep that relationship going when they're gone?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the clear communication. We communicate pretty well with meaning customers. When it comes to our events, we're very very clear on the information and what they're gonna do. When is the grand opening? When is this gonna happen? What are you gonna get in value? What are you looking forward to? We try to tell that story very very specific to a community, and we're storytelling heavy, we're brand heavy. So we immerse ourselves first in that brand as we work with them. For a great example would be like Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a legacy video game. Like, it's been out there
Absolutely.
forever. We owe it to the fans to understand the lore of Sonic the Hedgehog. If we don't know the lore and we're just slapping things together and doing whatever we want, that's a disservice. That's bad communication. We already lose the trust. And so, even in that storytelling, we take a lot of time understanding the movie lore, the comic book lore, the video game lore. And as we create the menu, as we communicate to the public, we really want to communicate well and build that trust with that exact community. Yeah.
What was the original game device that Sonic the Hedgehog came out on? Was it Nintendo or was it? Do you know what it was?
It was Sega Genesis. It was the one of the
So was
best
that
game
Atari?
systems.
No, was that Atari at one point?
I don't know that. I don't know
And I'll
where
tell
the
you, and this is a
origins
trick
came.
question, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a trick question because a lot of people don't know this, but I think it's Nolan Bushnell who was the founder of Atari and lives in the California area. Started a number of
Yeah.
restaurants. It's like
Yeah.
everybody wants to be in the restaurant
Yeah.
business, and he not only had technology for it, he was probably before his time in it.
Yeah.
But I've met him a few times. But he was a gamer, obviously,
Mhm.
and he went in the restaurants, and I had gone to a couple of his, I think in Newport Beach or Long Beach or something like that. And but it's sort of interesting how you can do it. And people always talk about gamification in technology as well to try to engage younger employees and customers.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things about I mean, we definitely love gamification. We're very careful with it though, because we don't want to. I think one of the most dangerous things is over promising and under delivering. So we gamify the best way we can without giving too much away. But at the same time, one of the fun experiences, there's a lot of giveaways that we do at a lot of our pop-ups, and it's all gamified. So we do all sorts of different ways for the community to engage. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So during your 5 years directly in the business,
Yes.
um, is there something, sometimes people have to think outside, or it takes somebody coming in from outside who didn't grow up all the way in the business. Although everybody eats, so we got that. Everybody's been in the business since they were like two, right? But is there something that you see out there that you just can't understand why we are not doing something today as an industry?
There's actually one thing that I'm sure people are already building but hasn't executed yet. Um, that I think about actually a lot. And I think it's because I just know where the youth hangs out. It's esports, e-gaming, everything in gaming is where a lot of kids meet each other. That's where these new communities have been built, is by playing these games, like whether it's Minecraft, like, which I just saw the new movie, it's amazing, or whether it's Roblox, or whether it's all the different free games. Like there's a new one called Marvel Rivals. It's like the kids are like crazy about. So there's all these games that are out there, like Fortnite and whatnot, and they're all hanging out in this place. And this is a very, very specific tech thought. That's why I'm bringing it up too, just for the pod. I don't know if you know anyone. Why aren't they working with these large brands and creating some sort of API where if I'm in mid game, I can communicate and commune somewhere in the game, and we could all place an order together and eat together by delivery? Like, why is that not a thing? Like, I feel
Well, I
like,
think I think people have tested though, stitching in advertising in the games, right? Like if you
mm,
see a billboard or something, being able to click on and place an order for the pizza or something like that. I think maybe they're on their way, but to actually, I think to be very clear, I think I heard you just say something different. I think you said something bigger than that. You said, "Why can't I, if I'm playing the game and I've got a bunch of people playing the game together, that we click on that and then we take a break and commune and talk together?"
exactly. Why couldn't I have a place, the game designs, where, because there's communal halls in certain games, not in every game, but in some games there's a community area, like a lobby. Why couldn't that lobby be the spot where, hey, let's go to like this place? They all go there. Maybe there's 20 of them. Maybe there's 100 of them. And they're all placing orders. They're chatting in certain bubbles. So you don't have to hear 100 people talking, but you can enter in each. Why isn't this a thing? Like, I was like, this could have been invented years ago. Is this too hard to get all the right people in the room? Like, I don't know. I've been talking about this actually at every tech conference. I'm like, why isn't
No,
this a
you know
thing?
what? Okay, so listen. So clearly, clearly, we need to brainstorm this offline. Okay, because first of all, we may not want to give away the secret sauce on this
Yeah,
one.
this is like a
Okay.
billion-dollar idea.
It's $1 billion idea. And I actually have a thought for you on this, how that might actually
Yeah.
work. And, we put our heads together on this one. But that's an interesting idea to bring people together virtually to enjoy a meal. And it would be the next step to the immersive technology of, for instance, like a la Star Trek, changing the room around you and the environment, although you would be doing it within the game. I get it. I think there is a way possibly to do it. And it wouldn't be very hard to test that, actually, as you bring that up. And sometimes you got to think outside the industry, right, to find the next thing. And you don't want to wait for COVID to force you to find out that eat at home meals is a day part,
Yeah.
right? So you don't need that. But very interesting thought, and so we will have to compare notes on that one. So
Yes,
okay, so
yes.
there's an idea that you've had, and you said you've been talking about. So okay, so is there something that we are doing that you think is headed the wrong way, or you really wish we weren't focused on it or doing it?
I would say one of the things that, like, I have so many ideas on how to improve ghost kitchens. Like, I have so many ideas, but it's it's uh, it's not easy, and it requires a lot of people to kind of shake things up a little, because I see what's going on in ghost kitchens. There's a lot of failures over the past years. I mean, we all have to admit it. There's a lot of
I
brands
hear nobody using the word ghost kitchen. I hear cloud kitchens and I hear dark kitchens.
Yes,
The whole
sorry, I'm
concept
using an
of
old
ghost.
term. I'm using an old
No,
term.
no, no,
Sorry.
no, no.
Yeah.
It's all right, because this is a debate that, and I'm going to be going to Food on Demand in a couple of weeks. You're not going to that, are you?
I'm
Uh,
not, but yeah.
okay, because if you were, we could have that continuous conversation there. But
Interesting.
I'm going to go there in a couple of weeks. And originally, Ghost Kitchens was really a big part of what they were doing, and there was a Ghost Kitchen conference. And I'm just sort of thinking about this, but it's evolved.
Hmm.
Okay, it's evolved, but it would play into the concept that you were just talking about.
Yeah, so in my mind, and maybe I share too much here, but this is just my thoughts. I just see what's happening, and it's just so separate from community. It's just it's just all about convenience. They're just trying to dial in the menu, work off costs, and I get it. Like, it's a business, and you're really trying to reach the need of people that just need food delivered on a costly budget, and it also creates on the restaurant or the people that are participating in this program. It helps them on cost reduction of inventory. Like, I get it. Like, I totally understand why they're making it very utility driven. It feels very utility, like the whole thing feels like utility. And for me, maybe I'm too big of a foodie to think food is utility. Like, maybe I'm too big of a maybe I'm too in love with people that I think food shouldn't be just used for that. So I think there's some missed opportunities where on the branding front, on the storytelling front, on you could still bring people together with a cloud concept, with a no physical location concept. There's ways to bring people together through the menu if there's the right story. And
All right.
yeah, but anyways.
All right. I think this is a conversation we are absolutely going to have to continue. And I'm being very serious about that.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it'd be fun to do that with you, only because I got a feeling it would be a lot of fun. But the only difference I suspect we are going to have if we do this conversation in person
Mm.
is you need to know I start my day at about 4 a.m, and I'm guessing you might be on the other end of the day, from that. But I don't know, because you're not going to find me, doing that. But we'll figure that one out.
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe I got it all wrong, right? So, but I think that there's definitely some continued conversation that brainstorming that we could have, because I think you are coming at this from a different way, and people certainly could tap into that. So where are you headed to next? When you have to start driving again, which direction are you going?
So right now, I'm going to a taco spot that I cannot talk about. We're doing some tastings for some future projects. I know it's so like mysterious. I hate being mysterious, but it's sometimes you're just working with brands, you can't talk about it, and yeah.
It's all right, but you can let us know. You can let us know after the fact. So listen, Yeah, we could obviously have part two here, but I'd rather do it in person. By the way, I'd love to sort of see the world
Yeah.
through your eyes. That's there. So, Kevin Seo has joined us for a conversation today. It's actually been fun. We need to do some more conversation from operations advisors, but actually, that's just the hidden name for a whole bunch of other things that he's involved in out there. And Kevin, really appreciate your joining us from your road office. And I will look forward to our next conversation.
Thanks, Rob.
Great. Safe travels there. Take care. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on TechBytes.
Yeah, guys.
This podcast is brought to you by the International Food and Beverage Technology Association. The IFBTA is the industry's voice of food service, hospitality, and retail technology, providing thought leadership as your single, impartial, and go-to resource. The IFBTA offers in-person and online communities to connect with your peers, the exchange, an all-encompassing global technology resource, and an industry-wide professional education and certification program. The bottom line is the IFBTA is your place to gather, learn, and share in conversations like the one we're having today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of TechBytes, powered by the IFBTA. I'm Rob Grimes, your host, and I look forward to taking our next bite of technology together.